Hey everyone, it's Carter King. If you're an educator, a leader, or just a parent who wants to teach kids about space, check out my newest book, Carter's Journey Through Space. It's available now on Amazon, Target, and bookstores everywhere. Come explore the universe with me.
Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is simple: to help you create environments where people thrive. Through real conversations, practical strategies, and powerful stories, we equip leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself to build cultures rooted in purpose, performance, and authenticity. Because culture isn't something you talk about, it's something you live. This is the Contagious Culture Podcast. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is to help you create ecosystems and environments where people thrive. Today's guest, man, I'm excited. It is someone who doesn't just talk about positivity, she teaches leaders how to train it. Sara is the founder of Practice Your Positive, a keynote speaker, facilitator, and head coach of Team Positive. Her work, it's amazing because it's really grounded in not just research, but human-centered design and real leadership experience. From Fortune 500 healthcare executive to building national systems of change, her core belief is simple but powerful. You don't need more motivation. You don't. And even at the beginning of this year, you need to know that you don't need more motivation. You need to train your energy or you'll go negative by default. Welcome to the show, Sara. How you doing?
Welcome. I am great. I woke up, the sun is shining, I slept in a bed. It's a great day.
Like, I need that energy. So where can I start? Let's just jump into it. Where can I start if I'm on a journey of transforming my mindset, my positivity? I'm a leader and want to be a catalyst of change with other people that I come across. Where do I begin?
Yeah, love that question. You know, I think when we talk about personal growth and development and all of these things, we so often start with mindset. And while we know, right, that is the root to this, right? Our identity, our beliefs. But sometimes that mindset, I think, is inaccessible, right? Inaccessible. You know, I want to be different. I want to make a change, but we're so stuck in our routines. And so really what I like to do is really try to flip that. Let's start with the behaviors, right? Let's start embodied in the practices. And by doing that, we will get immediate feedback. And then that will actually be the springboard where we're able to shift our mindset, shift our identity, and really shift our destiny. But let's start with the practices of how it looks to be happy, healthy, and connected in our relationships every day.
I love that. And I'm super tactical. I don't know if it's the educator in me. What is one small, something that you did this morning that helps you set your energy for the day so that someone that may have missed that this morning can implement that tomorrow?
Yeah, gratitude. And listen, before you're like, oh yeah, gratitude, because I was always that way, right? Everyone says gratitude. There's a lot of research for it. But it always felt like kind of forced. Yeah. It wasn't actually until I actually lost my home and almost everything I own about a year ago. It wasn't until I lost everything and felt like I truly had nothing to be grateful for that I realized the power of gratitude. So now every morning when I wake up a little bit earlier. I don't know, right? Like before the chaos of the day, before my daughter wakes up, I wake up and I ground every morning in gratitude. Grateful that I woke up. Grateful that I have a place to stay, grateful that I have love in my life, grateful for my body, grateful for my mind, grateful for the possibilities, right? Because I think we can get so stuck in like, we're always aspiring and that's beautiful, right? We want this and we want this and we're going to grow that and the next job and this big impact. But when we get super duper granular, right? Like we are sitting here right now, it is a miracle just to be alive. And so when I anchor myself in that, like, I have a day, like all I have is today. And if I can just be so grateful that I am just here on this planet with you and in the world today, that is one way that I start every day that has made such an impact really on the trajectory of my whole day and ultimately the trajectory of your life.
As I think about, even you mentioned it a little bit earlier in regards to your trajectory and your story of how you got to this point and practice your positive. Like before practice your positive, what happened? What led you to this place? And what was the
Yeah.
story that was your slingshot moment that really pulled you
Ooh.
back and started transforming how you even showed up daily?
Yeah. So it actually started well before the big chaos, the big traumatic events.
Yeah.
I was working at a startup. I've spent 15 years in the same career, and I had moved from one job to a startup, and I worked there, and then I got laid off, as often happens in the ebbs and flows with startups. And I suddenly had this pocket of time where I knew I could go back to my old job, and I had a few months severance, and I finally had a space to like really slow down and be like, what am I doing with my life, right? I've checked all the boxes, and yet somehow day to day, I don't feel as happy as I should, even though I built a career, I have a healthy body, I have relationships in my life, I got the graduate degree, right? I look good on the outside, but I wasn't truly consistently happy. And so when I sat down with this like few months of time, I'm not necessarily an organized person, but I am a structure person.
Yeah.
Right? From sports, from the gym, from yoga, dancing. Like I am a structure. Just tell me what to do and I will do it.
Yeah.
So the very first day when I got laid off, I sat down at my kitchen counter and wrote myself a set of things I was going to do to ensure I made the most of this time. And also that I didn't isolate or spiral or right. So it started just with every day I'm going to take a walk without earbuds. Every day I'm going to say hi to my neighbors and engage in conversations, right? Every day I'm going to, say 3 things that I am thankful for. It just started with a very simple little list of rules for myself. And I did that. And I felt a lot better. So then I started playing games with myself. Like, okay, let's see if we can get bonus points if we get someone to smile today or laugh, right? Let's make someone laugh, or let's give out 3 compliments. And so it started very basically with this idea of like, I'm going to try to like gamify my life and get these reps in, right? Like whether you're training for a marathon or even in school, right? We get better at anything through practice. That is the only way we get better at it, is through practice. So I started just practicing it. And then I did that for 6 or 9 months. I went back to my old job and my life just leveled up in so many ways. I had a connected community. I started volunteering. I had friends at yoga instead of just scurrying off and running away, right? Now I knew people's names, and I knew the cashiers at the grocery store, and Edward just lost his grandma. And my whole world colored so much. And then at the end of that year, my home flooded.
Wow.
And I realized that I got through it because I had practiced my positive before I needed it, right? Like I had a plan. And so even when the spaghetti hit the fan, I had a plan, and I was like, oh, well, this really works. And that was really the beginning of Practice Your Positive. It's had a few more evolutions since then, but it was really just rooted in what are the things that I do every day that will make me happy in my mind, healthy in my body, and connected to the folks around me.
Sara, I'm so thankful that you shared that story in the way that you shared it. And one of the things that really stuck out to me that I wrote down is that you practiced your positive before you needed it. You talked earlier in the conversation about every day was intentional. Like you had certain practices that you did on a daily basis that started to create this life that you envisioned, but you started to develop this sense of happiness. Before that, you talked about that you had it all. You looked great on the outside. You had all of these things on the outside, but you recognized that you weren't happy. So I have a few different questions, but I want to take it here first.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst for you to recognize that you weren't happy? And I ask that because I know, and I speak to a lot of leaders like yourself all the time, and we always lead with the exterior. And we always lead with what's great, what's beautiful, what's happening, what's working. but there's oftentimes a gap inside our hearts that
Mm,
often goes unchecked and unseen. So for that person that is struggling and bleeding in silence, what would
mm.
be your message to that person that would help them understand it, but then also set the intention so that they can practice positive before they need it?
Love that question. Yes, that is a perfect frame too, right? Because all of this is not theoretical, right? This is, I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself 5 years
Yeah.
ago, right? We've all been there. I think that's one thing, it's a beautiful way to ask the question is whether we admit it or not, we've all felt that, right?
Yeah.
That disconnect between it looks good on paper, but somehow my life doesn't feel as good as it looks. And so to somebody who is in that position where maybe they've checked all the boxes, they've done all the things, but somehow the day-to-day doesn't feel as good, I would share with you that the answer is to focus on yourself, which sounds like a platitude, or it sounds like I am focused on myself, right? My career, my job, but truly to tap into who you are and what you want, because so many of us are like beautiful, generous, right? We give so much to everyone else. We water everyone else's garden, right?
Yeah.
We do all of these things. And what I found in my life is that once I watered my own garden, right? We always talk about like filling the cup, all these analogies, right? Fill your cup, don't pour from the empty cup. But what I found is, right, a lot of times we fill our cup only just enough to pour into others, and then it's empty again. Then we fill it up a little bit, and then we pour it. And what I found is much more sustainable is filling your cup so high, so big that it is actually overflowing. And in that overflow, you can give to people without feeling like you're diminishing yourself.
That's good.
And so ironically, the answer is do more for yourself.
Man, I feel triggered in that one. I do.
Perfect.
And the reason that I do in a positive way is because it makes me reflect on my own journey. And I so agree with you, but you've put it in such an elegant way. It's like I would only fill my cup enough to serve, support, or empower the people around me. And I had created this image and this perception of wanting to be there for everyone else. And I did enough and learned enough and created enough and made enough money just so that everyone else could be good. And at the end of it, I felt depleted and unhappy and unfulfilled and disconnected from purpose. And it took me through a period of time where then you start gaining weight, and then you start making bad decisions, and then you start making bad choices. And then your environment, you look around, everyone else is good. And then you are in this tight space, and then you reach out to those that you helped, and then it's not the same level of grace and reciprocity. And it's so interesting that you say fill it to overflow. What are some practices that I could do that would allow me to approach life in a selfish but untoxic way?
Sure. So I like to think about, right, all of this for me, especially, I come from boxing, yoga, dancing, fitness, right? So for me, I think about, this is literally a training plan. This is not self-help. This is like, it is a training plan. Do the reps, get the results, don't talk back. No, you know what I mean? Like it is do the thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I think about that in order to fill your cup to overflow in a way that is still, right, still centered in our heart and our generous nature. I think about 4 training zones: mindset, movement, expression, connection. Most of us have 1 or 2 of these that we're good at, right? I'm a movement person. It is easy for me to get my walk in, get my workout in, eat right. That's just an easy one for me, but other ones, right? They're all connected. And so mindset, are you feeding yourself, right? Are you reading uplifting things? Are you giving yourself the encouragement, the peace of mind, the spiritual support, right? All of the things that we need for our mindset, right? Our affirmations, all of those things. Movement, are you taking care of your physical body, right? You mentioned gaining weight, right? There's a lot of momentum. And it's not about aesthetics or looking a certain way or being a weight. It's being healthy in our body because that is the vessel for this life, right? like it or lump it, it's going to carry us everywhere we go. So movement, right? Are you taking care of your physical health? Expression. This is a big one that I think a lot of us skip. Expression. This can be things like boundaries. I said it. I know. I wanted to pause for everyone to give that face, because boundaries, that's a good one, right? Boundaries, speaking your truth, right? We swallow our truth long enough, those resentments are inevitable, right? Expression. This is also, though, creativity. This is also doodling. I do stand-up comedy. I love it because that's one of my expressions. I love making people laugh.
Wait a minute. You do?
Wow.
Next time you're in Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, next time I'm there, I would love to come. I've wanted to do it for the longest, just to get out your comfort zone. Do it.
Open mic. I have a history of taking guests in Florida to open mics and getting them to do a set. But that expression, right? Like, say the thing, right? Whether it's art or, right, but expression. You know, I have a lot of friends that do improv, some sort of expression, right? And especially now we're in a culture where we consume so much. You know, not everyone has to start a podcast, but speaking your truth, doodling, drawing, expressing something, putting your energy out into the world is a big one that helps us avoid those resentments. And then the last one is connection. And then I think, pointing back to what you said, right? A connection that is reciprocal, right? We all need people, you and me, and probably a lot of the audience, right? We're givers. But do you have people in your life who give to you? Because that is like a breath of fresh air. So I don't have, it might be a shorter list than the people that you give to, but do you have people that pour into you, right? And then the connection is, reaching out just day to day. We all chase the likes, the hearts on our social media. Hey, spoiler alert, there's people everywhere, right? Like in line at the grocery store, right? Like those are people too. And so connecting, right, gets us out of our heads and gets us into the feeling that we're not alone, right? There is a huge interconnection between all of us. And so if you think about those 4 zones, right, mindset, movement, expression, connection, I would say, which one do you intuitively go to? Which one's easy for you, Kyle?
Connection. Interestingly, I love community. Movement, being an athlete, track athlete, running, gym, that's like my jam.
Perfect. How about expression?
I think reading, mindset is easy. Like reading is like the thing for me. Reading, okay. I think expression is the thing. And it's funny because on my paper, I circled expression. I don't do a good enough job expressing the side of me that my kids and spouse see to the world. To the world, I armor up. And oftentimes it could be seen as masking up so that we can get things done, or we can build something, or we can grow, or we can connect with transaction in mind instead of authentic engagement in mind, so that we can develop this life rather than showing up authentically as who you are. Like I'm a writer and a poet, so I would love to do open mic and it's been years since I've done it, since high school. And it makes me reflect, and this is probably a deeper conversation on when did it stop? Because as we're younger, we're so expressive. We're wanting to take on the world and do all of these different things. So I would wonder, for leaders that you've worked with, or even in your journey, where do people fall short, and what are oftentimes the catalysts that lead to people not expressing who they truly are?
Love that. And I think, right, you have a really great way of summarizing it and bringing it all together. It is, there is some point, I think, in most of our lives where we're like, okay, I'm an adult now, and therefore I need to, right, I need to act this way. I need to, right, we lead with our credentials, we lead with, our competence. And when we lead with that, we lose part of ourselves, right? We get disconnected from that freer spirit, and we all have it, right? It doesn't, right? We're not all Picasso or poets, but there is an innate part of being human that is in expressing ourselves, not for the outcome, right? Like make the art not because it looks pretty or even hang it on the wall, but because the act of creating something is one way that we can make sense of this little crazy human life and share it with other people. So in my practices, when we get to the expression lane, right? I'm writing a book. We'll talk about that later. I'll have to plug it. Come on now. Right. And we can scale it. All of these things are scalable. So if you're new to expression, right, we can start with little things like doodle for a few minutes, right? Take 2 minutes and just doodle. Totally silly. Don't tell me you can't draw. Don't be like it's a stick figure. I don't care. Doodle, right? Doodle. Right. Have those conversations where you're able to be yourself. And I'll be totally transparent. That was one thing I framed myself before I came in today was, don't show up as like Sara Eve Schaefer, the MBA executive, blah, 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 blah. Who cares, right? Really, who cares? Another reason I go by my nickname Sass, right? Because that is truly who I see myself as, right? A goofball, right? A goofball with a framework and, oh, by the way, a championship boxing belt, right? Like that is kind of just who I am. Yeah. And there's a certain comfort level that when you practice those things and you show up in little tiny ways, you get those reps in of being your authentic self and you see, oh, nobody died. People still like me, right? Like nobody drummed me off LinkedIn because I didn't use the big word, right? Like, and in some ways, people resonate more with showing up authentically if we start with the courage to do it. And then we inspire others. And before you know it, you have a culture, an organization, a system, a friend group where everyone feels that psychological safety to be themselves. And that, when we tie this to actual outcomes, that actually is where innovation, problem solving, creativity, right, team dynamics, all of it comes from the psychological safety. But we have to give ourselves permission first to show up as ourselves. Messy, wrong, saying the wrong word, cracking a joke, speaking eloquently, whatever your true nature is, you have to give yourself that permission first.
I have so many questions. I have so many questions. And one of the most powerful points that I heard, and I wrote it down and I put a check mark and a box around it, is the courage to do it. Because oftentimes, and I know there's somebody that's going to be listening in that have been thinking about something, that have been wanting to do something, start something, express something, begin, stop something, but they haven't developed the boldness and believed enough in their ability and their courage to just do the thing. But then you circled around and you said to do it not for outcomes, but just to do it to fully express yourself. Earlier on, you mentioned that you wanted to show up outside of Sara Schaefer, the MBA. How would your little one describe you? Outside of the titles, how would your little babies, the ones that gave you kisses and hugs before this episode, describe who you are outside of the titles?
Kyle, don't make me tear up. It's they're right below the surface when I talk about my story. Yes, I have a 9-year-old daughter and we are best friends and she is the absolute inspiration of my life and she is savagely herself. And it is such an inspiration to see that. She loves goofball mom. Goofball mom is it, right? Fun mom. When I can, it's funny, right? Like we went to Disney for the first time this weekend and we take trips or something. And I sometimes have to toggle between like adult mode where I have to you have to get the tickets and get in line and drive somewhere and show up on time. And did you go to the bathroom and all those things? And then when I can release the kind of adult mode and just relax into being myself, which is sometimes forgetful, which is often disorganized, which is cracking a joke sometimes, even when, it's not right. And so I think my daughter would describe me as fun and, sweet and caring. And that, that in some ways too, that's been difficult for me to share with the world is the softer side of myself. Feeling, that somehow takes away from my gravitas in the world. It takes away, it makes me soft. It makes me look naive. It makes me look weak. But really, it's that soft, caring, fun side that she sees and that now I try to channel into my day-to-day life and have the courage to show up that way 80% of the time, 70% of the time, I would say right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's like that? And what can we do as leaders in organizations to be able to change that narrative where we have to be this empathetic, compassionate, loving, forgetful, goofy parent,
Yeah.
but we can't show up as that person in a boardroom?
Yeah, I think there's a real shift in the zeitgeist right now, moving from a post-COVID era and the new multi-generational workforce, right? We're seeing kind of the old guard of the boomers and then the new guard of the Gen Z, right? And Gen Z comes into the picture a lot more heart-centered, open, sensitive, and I know there's a tone to that word, but sensitive in a good way, right? In tune, right? More aware of, less on positions and title and more on the connection, the authenticity, how people show up. And so I think we're kind of at this really interesting, juicy inflection point where we're like, who do we want to be? And, all of this too, through the lens of social media, where we're moving again from this kind of polished Instagram, perfect pictures that doesn't reflect real life to more authentic, right? TikTok, film in your kitchen right now with a mess behind you. And so I think we're at this point now where there is a shift that we're seeing that people want that authenticity in a world, in a digital world, in a post-COVID world, in a new multi-generational workforce. We're shifting from that idea of curated masking, and stepping back and really relating more to each other as humans. And it takes work. Like it does take work, and it does take courage. And I think we're working, we're finding our new ground right now with that. And it's conversations like this and some of the other leaders you've had, and these conversations where, why can't I be my authentic self at work? And why would that be a career detriment? Because ultimately that cognitive dissonance between how I have to show up at work and who I am eventually is going to cause me to burn out, be resentful, right? Because I'm spending more energy masking and trying to be someone else. And that's energy that could be spent in problem solving, right? Individual contributor, managing, directing, whatever your role is. You're actually burning more energy. And so I think we're going to see this shift where if we release a little bit of that, it'll never fully go away. We'll actually have better outcomes, right? A more vital workforce, a more connected community if we all just, exhaled just a little bit around some of those masks.
Yeah. I think that exhale is important, literally, and like in all sense. And, I think about a leader that I spoke with a few days ago, and he was literally spiraling before he went into a meeting. And he was telling me about just the meeting didn't go as planned, because he was going through some relational challenges. And I just asked him, like, what are some things that you do when you're in these mindsets or going through various things? He said, I don't know. Nothing. I want you to speak to that leader, Sara, that leader that's spiraling, that leader that doesn't have the tactics and the tools from someone like you. What would be your first step to this training plan that they can follow so that in these moments that life begins to throw jabs, they can be able to counter?
Boy, we couldn't have set this question up better. I have a tool. So, I have a whole training plan, but we need that rescue tool. And so I would introduce the hand guide to reclaiming your energy. So if we go through our hand, we're going to assign something to each finger. It is the perfect moment when you are spiraling, when you are stuck, when you are feeling off, you have that anxiety, you don't know what to do. Can I do that? Can I quick run through that together?
Sure, of course.
All right. So the hand guide, thumb, it starts with me. I ground myself in what's real. So what's real? So you're having a tough relational moment. You're facing a big challenge, right? Are you going to die? Are you a failure, right? What are all the stories you're telling yourself? And what are the facts? The facts are right now, my mind is overwhelmed. I'm in a tough situation, period, right? It will pass. I will live. Things will be okay, right? Ground yourself in the moment. Pointer finger, right? We focus. Where's my focus? Is my focus on fear, worry, anxiety? Is my focus on possibility, repair, love, right? Where's my focus? You can always choose your focus. Middle finger is my favorite. That little spicy This isn't gonna, I'm not gonna collapse here, right? Not now. That little fire in the belly, right? Like, nope, I'm not going down like that. That's not my story, right? You got to get that little fire in your belly. Ring finger connection. Who can I talk to? Who can I lean on? Connection over isolation. After the meeting, I'm going to call, my friend who I know can pour into me, right? And I'm going to share it all, right? Who am I going to call? And then the last one, pinky. What's one little thing you can do? So for him, before the meeting, I'm going to take 2 deep breaths and I'm going to tell myself that, this is okay. I can handle this. This too shall pass, right? 5 little things, no tech, no app, just 5 ways to ground yourself, choose your focus, get a little fire, make sure you're connected, and then just do the next tiny thing.
Sara, we can stop the episode right there. That's so good. That is so rich. That is so wise. That is so practical. And I just appreciate you so much. And I think about this. You can apply this to any area of your life. And I love how you said the thumb, and you went to the thumb first. Like, what is real? Like, what is really happening? What are the stories that we're telling ourselves versus what are the facts? Like, what are the actual facts? But then you went directly to the pointer, like, all right, well, that's the facts. That's the story. You may be hurt. You may be spiraling, but where are we going? Because if we focus on the hurt, the pain, the disappointment, or the challenges that we're experiencing, it doesn't give us the opportunity to actually move forward. And then you went to the middle finger, like, look, I'm not going out like that. Like, nope. I am going out like that. And it connects back to that courage to do it, that courage to believe that there's better in front of you. And then I love the ring finger, because I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. Is they don't have what I call, and what I've learned in therapy, the right connection to call first. You have to have the right person, not the person that's going to appease us, the person that may hold us accountable to actually the last step of moving forward. And then what is the next best one thing that I can do? And you didn't say the things, the list, this diagram, all of these things. What is the next one thing that I can do? Why is this so important to implement? And how has this worked in your personal and professional journey in working with people in your career?
Yeah. We have good intentions, right? We know when we're spiraling, we want this. And ironically, the same energy that recognizes that says, well, the answer is to do more and beat yourself up. And right, there's no way to flog yourself into feeling better, right? There's no way to beat yourself up to feel good. But that's where we go, right? And we talk to ourselves much harsher than we would ever talk to anyone else, right? I say things to myself that I would never, ever say to somebody else, let alone someone that I love or my daughter or, relationship. So, to have something that is intuitive, it's literally in your hand, it's not an app, right? And then some days it is a matter of sometimes, I'll just use, right? I just get stuck on the thumb all day long. I have to tell myself what's real. I'm an entrepreneur, the entrepreneur hustle, right? Some days you're like, what am I doing? This is never going to work. This is crazy. I should just quit this whole thing, right? We all have those moments. And so you just keep coming back to, this is something new. And whether it's working out or your job or whatever it is, right? This is new for me. I am getting better. I can do anything, right? That, it is a hard day, it is a hard conversation. It is not a hard life, right? Like coming back again and again to maybe 1 or 2 things, but we need something in the moment that we can rely on and that gives us an immediate boost. Because again, we can start with the mindset, but boy, that's real hard, right? So I like to exploit it the other way, right? What actions can I do right now that will calm my nervous system enough and give me just enough space, enough breathing room to have my mind back online? When we're stressed out, ironically, evolutionarily, it's right. Like I hate it, but once you're in that stress mode, you can't think straight, right? You're not going to make a good decision. You're going to react. You literally cannot think rationally when you are emotionally overloaded. So we need to bring the temperature down enough that part of our mind comes back online. That momentum, right? You drop something and then you mess up and then you do this. And before you know it, you have you strung together 10 terrible actions because the energy just builds, right? In that focus where our focus goes, our energy flows, right? And so snipping that, having that without, without the shame, right? Without beating ourselves up, without it being, I need to read a self-help book, I need to book an emergency therapy session. No, I have the power right now within myself, because ultimately, whether we like to acknowledge it or not, ultimately all of the answers we need are within ourselves, right? All of the love we're looking from others is within ourselves.
Yeah.
So that level, that ability to self-soothe and to rescue ourselves builds the confidence and the courage to continue to show up in the ways that we want to,
Let me ask you this. What happens after this? Like after you do the one thing, do you go back to the beginning, or you go to a different step, or what would be the next? Hey, it's Kyle. Sorry to interrupt your programming, but I got a quick culture check for you. How's your team's energy right now? I mean, literally, right now. Are people feeling inspired, or are they just showing up? See, here's the truth. Culture doesn't change because we talk about it. It changes because we live it actively every single day. And that's what I help organizations do. Build contagious cultures that people actually want to be a part of. Through keynote talks, interactive trainings, and hands-on consulting, I help leaders transform the way their teams connect, perform, and grow. So if your culture needs a little bit of spark, let's light it up together. Visit theculturelab.org, again, theculturelab.org, or connect with me directly on LinkedIn at Kyle S. King to learn more about how we can work together. Because remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching. Now let's get back to the program.
Yeah, so it depends on how bad the crash out is. Sometimes you have to do it a couple of times. Typically, I find that when by the time you get to the pinky and you are doing the next thing, you've taken the temperature down and you've done an action, and that's enough to start the feedback loop in your mind of like, oh, okay, my world is not on fire. I can handle this. And then you can shift back into, from the example we started at the beginning, right? Like, okay, so the conversation, the presentation didn't go well. How can I repair that? What's the next step? Who should I call? Who should I lean on? How can we repair that? Right? You can kind of get back into like problem solving mode, but you need to be able to take that temperature down and get out of the spiral to be able to take that action forward. Right? And some days, again, you might come back to that same one. Right? I've had those days where it has been, right, middle finger all day long. Right? Like, nope. Not today, Satan, like not today. I'm not going down like that. No sass, like, right. You get that fire in your belly, and maybe that fire in your belly all day is what keeps you, going until you can have a break, or until you get to the next part of your, day or life, or, wherever you're at in that situation.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Sara, you are the thing that I love. You're a phrase person. I've written down a few phrases that you said, and like to have my mind back online. I love that one. You said earlier, like it or lump it. And then what was it? The spaghetti at the fan?
Oh yeah. Spaghetti at the fan. Yeah. I like those. I like rhymes too. There's a lot of rhymes in my world.
I'm a phrase person, as well. What is one phrase? What is one quote? What is one book that is your go-to when you're needing to practice your positive?
I would say that surprisingly, one of the books that I go to the most right now is The Art of War. No, The War of Art. The War of Art. I always get it backwards.
Right? The Art of War by Sun Tzu?
No, it's the opposite. It is the say it for me now, Kyle. Now we said it backwards. My dyslexic mind can't get it right.
The War of Art.
The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. So it is a book all about resistance. And it's a very slim book. I usually have it behind me. Very slim book. It's maybe 120 pages. Each chapter is maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs, maybe a page. And it talks all about the resistance that we feel. The resistance that we feel if we are starting a workout program, starting a job, in a new relationship. Anytime that you want to do something meaningful, you will face resistance. And that is not personal. That is ubiquitous to everybody. Yeah. And so once I recognize that, like I love what I do, but there's still days where I'm like, oh, I got to do this thing. And once I realized that's not a personal failure, that's not that it's not meant for me. It doesn't mean that I'm not good enough. It doesn't mean it's not going to work out. That there's always going to be a little bit of resistance when we're trying to push up the next level, right? Whether it's mind, body, spirit, relationship, fitness, career, whatever, right? That little bit of resistance. And so he talks through what that resistance feels like and then how to overcome that little bit of resistance. I think essentially about breaking through creative blocks for artists, for writers and things. But that resistance, I go to that again and again, because as you expand, as I expand, there's always that little bit of like, can I really, is this really, but this is painful, but it'd be so much easier to sit and scroll. And so I go to that one again and again, even though I got the title wrong like 5 times.
It's all good. It's all good. I thought it was The Art of War because that's, and I was like, wow,
No. It's the flip, the war of art. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Like this has been a phenomenal conversation, and I'm so thankful for you. So thankful for your heart, your generosity of your time as well, and the wisdom that you've been able to share. I want to shift the perspective, and I want to go to a rapid fire exercise. So this should be fun. So I'm going to say either a phrase or word, and just the first thing or strategy that comes to your mind that you would share. It's going to be interesting. So we'll start with this. This is the first one. What is 1 second energy reset anyone can use?
I got this. Think back in your life. Think about all the stuff you've been through, right? We all have our stories. That's the one thing. Just tell yourself, I got this, and just move on. I got this.
What is one habit that could potentially destroy you practicing positive?
Overthinking.
Tell me more.
We can't think our way out of overthinking. And in a world now where we spend more time on our screens in isolation, so many of us live lives in our head. And the more that we stay in our head and tell ourselves the stories and stay there, we actually lose connection with reality, right? With possibility, with the world. And so, it's getting out of your head. And that again is where we come back to practices, right? Say hi to someone, take the walk, get up and do 10 air squats, right? Like you got to get out of your head. Yeah. And that is, I sometimes say like, I have like a selective lobotomy, right? Like I just like, I don't even think about like, this is crazy. People won't like that. I just like, nope, just kind of tune that out. You just do the thing. So overthinking.
All right, here's the next one. What's one practice every organizational leader should put in place tomorrow so that their teams can have practice or this idea or culture of practicing positive?
One-on-one check-ins. I think building those individual relationships that don't have the perhaps the structure of a meeting or that hiding behind a meeting. I would say one-on-one check-ins, getting to know your people.
And here's an easy one. How would you describe your goals and vision for the next 10 years in one word?
That's the easy one, Kyle.
I know.
Boy, 10 years with the world. Yeah. Boy, you stumped me. Come on, that's not fair. That was supposed to be the easy one.
All right. So I'll give you, when you think about 10 years,
yes,
when you think about the impact that you will leave, because I know it's happening. Describe and visualize it for us.
Yeah. It would be that training your energy through positivity practices is as commonplace as training your body through physical fitness.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That becomes right. Like, you have good energy is a compliment that like, did you train today? Did you go to practice? That we talk about that, practicing our positivity, our energy, just the same way we talk about physical fitness, mental health, that becomes part of the vernacular and something that we all manage, not only to, get out of default negativity, but to live our biggest lives, right? For everyone to be able to, I know we all have big dreams, even if that dream, to some people, the big dream might be like to have a great relationship, right? Whatever your dreams are, that you have that energy to be able to show up and live this one life as richly as you can, so that when you're at the end of it, you look back with no regrets.
I love that. What are some initiatives, books, programs that you have that someone listening in can engage with so that they can begin their journey of practicing positive?
Yeah, love that. So we have a couple of things. They're going to be all kind of variations and different intensity levels on the same idea. So through Instagram, I run Team Positive Practices Wednesdays and Fridays. It's 3 moves. You do Wednesdays and Fridays. I share them on Instagram so people can hop on over there. It's 3 moves. They might be, mindset, movement, expression, connection, 3 things, instant results. I'm starting a plus 12 challenge, which would be 12 things you'll do for 21 days. That's going to start on February 2nd, February 1st, 2/1. And that's 12 things. You're probably doing half of them already. They're going to be things like, drinking half your body weight in ounces of water, saying hi to 3 strangers, write 5 minutes of gratitude. Again, simple practices you can start every day. And then I would say stay tuned for the upcoming book, which is the training guide to good energy, why feeling good is a skill and how to practice it like a pro. That'll be coming out later this year.
I love it. I love it. Sarah, you've said so many things and you have dropped so much game. I appreciate you so much for not gatekeeping and just sharing your heart with us. For someone who has made it to this time in the episode that is still feeling bummed out, they're still feeling stuck, they're still feeling disconnected, what do you want to say directly to them?
I believe in you, right? If you don't believe in yourself yet, like borrow mine. You see this part perhaps with, right, the smile, the goofball energy, but I was in a dark place for a lot of years and I got out by training and I didn't believe it was possible. And it wasn't until I surrounded myself with people who told me it was, and I saw them and their transformations, and folks who, you look at someone, you're like, boy, you have it even worse than I do. And to see that. And so if you don't, just please take my belief that it can get better. It will get better. You are deserving. You are worthy. Just believe that it can. Just somewhere in your heart, let that light in, because that is really where it starts, is believing that it can, believing that you deserve it. And, and to just do anything you can to soak the fire of, I can do this. I'm worthy, right? I can be better. Life can be better. Life can be happier.
Thank you for that, Sarah. This has been powerful. And for everybody listening, your world is built through your energy, through your every single interaction, through your movement, through your commitment to believing that you got this. Remember your hand. Remember the 5 things that she shared, the multitude of things that Sarah has shared with you today. And if today's conversation resonated with you, connect with Sarah. Join the challenge. I am joining the 21-day challenge and implementing 12 things on a daily basis because I believe in Sarah's ability to not just transform my business, not just transform the outside or the exterior, but everything that's going on inside. And for listeners, I want you to remember this. Culture is contagious. What you practice today becomes what your people live tomorrow. One of the questions that we always ask for our listeners on the Contagious Culture podcast is, what type of culture are you spreading? The energy you bring is the culture you create. My name is Kyle King. This is another episode of the Contagious Culture podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Contagious Culture podcast. If this episode challenged or inspired you, hey, take a second to share it with someone who's building culture in their world. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more leaders, educators, and change makers just like yourself join the movement. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or YouTube at Kyle S. King for more tips, tools, and methodologies to be able to help you create this ecosystem of absolute excellence. Until next time, lead boldly, live intentionally, and remember, your culture is contagious. Make it worth catching.